Off the Cuff is supported by Patreon. Join today and become an honorary producer and get in-show credit on every episode. Hi there, everybody, and welcome to a special episode of Off the Cuff. It's special because this episode is all about my mom. Yeah, my mom loved to cook, especially later in her life. And what she did is she took established recipes and she kind of put her own spin on it. Kind of like what I'm doing, yeah. She was famous for her chicken cacciatore, her meatloaf, her stuffed peppers, and especially her homemade chicken soup. Oh, she was famous for it. I'm serious. Neighbors would come over to the house and they would campaign for her to make it. It was seriously that good. Recently, I was thinking about her and her chicken soup, and I realized something kind of sad. Somehow, some way, I misplaced the recipe because I wanted to recreate it, not only for myself, but I thought it'd be great to do here on the show. So I was pretty sad about that, but you know what? Things happen. Well, one thing leads to another. I find myself in my email looking for something randomly a couple of weeks ago, and I come across an email that I sent to an old friend over 20 years ago. And guess what's attached to the email? The recipe for my mom's homemade chicken soup. I found it. I was so thrilled. I'm like, yes! And I knew right then and there I was going to make duplicate copies, save it in safe places, and I was going to make it for the show. And that leads us to today, where I have the recipe, and I'm going to share the recipe for my mom's homemade chicken soup right here on Off the Cuff. It's going to be pretty much word for word with one little difference. When my mom made the recipe, she used rice, and well, I want to make it low carb, so I'm going to use cauliflower rice. Not that big of a deal, and it's going to be just as delicious. Now, like I said, I've been getting very nostalgic, so I also, the other day, went through all of my family slides. I just realized something. If you're under 40, you probably don't know what slides are. Well, they were little transparent pictures that were put into a white cardboard square and then projected onto a screen. Yeah, single images. And for me, it's the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, my whole family history. So, yes, I'm going to make my mom's homemade chicken soup. But before that, please take a look at my family's history through slides. These are my actual family slides, and I think you're going to enjoy. Watch. Okay, I have the projector all set up. Let's get those slides going. Turn on the projector, please. There we go, it's working fine, yeah. This is how we did it old school, kids, yeah. There I am. Look at me. I'm so small. 5 pounds, 5 ounces. My mom said I could fit into a shoebox. And today, I can't even fit into a shoe store. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, I was quite the chick magnet, yep. Look at that physique, oh yeah. See this picture? That's how Sir Mix-a-Lot got the inspiration for Baby's Got Back. Next slide, please. Oh man. This is a picture of my great-great-grandmother. Yeah, this picture had to be taken in the 30s. This picture is 90 years old. Look at this. 90 years old, and somehow her kitchen is more modern than mine is. How'd that happen? Next slide. Oh yeah, I was always very socially conscious. Here I am, composing a letter of critique to Gerbers. Dear Gerbers, I am quite the fan of your applesauce. However, as to your savory offerings, I am not a fan of the strained peas or the strained carrots. And I'm still not. Is there any way you can get this into a jar? Yeah, and I'm still waiting for an answer. As time passed and I started to dress nicer, I started to ponder what I was going to do with my life. For a while, I wanted to be a rock star. Then, a helicopter pilot. A door-to-door salesman. I still have that suit. Then, a fairy princess. No comment. A good fella. Look at that. Hey, get out your shine box. Yep, that's me being a model in a Whitesnake video. Yeah, Tony Katane got it all from me. But in the end, I decided to be a superhero. Hey, it made sense. I mean, my mom dressed like Lois Lane. Tell me that's not Lois Lane. Now I've talked about this, I've had my ups and downs, but right now I'm happily clean and sober, and I have my family to thank for it, yeah. First up, here's my grandfather. Okay, well, you know, it was a different time, it was a different era. My Aunt Florence. Okay, well, obviously the shoe doesn't fall very far from the tree. The shoe? Tree? My cousin John. Yeah, well, you know, the 60s and 70s were a little bit different. Let's go to more of my immediate family, shall we? Okay, let's try my sister. All right, that's not her fault. Somebody spiked the baby formula. My brother. I don't know when this picture was taken. Probably in the early morning. I'd say about 4:20, if you get my meaning. But let's get to my parents. They were always on the straight and narrow. My dad. Oh boy. Yeah, it's my dad just clowning around. And my mom. Yeah, okay, listen. They were my rocks. They were my inspiration. And I love them oh so very much. And I miss them today. But this show is all about my mom and her recipe for her chicken soup. So with no further ado, here are the ingredients. Okay, it's time to make my mom's homemade chicken soup. Here are the ingredients you'll be needing. First up, 12 chicken wings, 1 head of cauliflower, 5 large celery stalks, chopped, 1 large onion, diced, 1 pound fresh baby carrots or just chopped carrots, 1 to 2 tablespoons of garlic powder or to personal taste, 1 15-ounce can of chicken broth, 1 teaspoon of salt or to taste, 1 teaspoon of black pepper or to taste, and enough water to cover your chicken wings. For me, that was 2 to 3 quarts of water. The very first line of my mom's recipe is, here, you can see it there, get yourself a large soup pot if you don't already have one. Well, I have one. Let's get to making the soup. Oh, but there's some prep work to do first with vegetables and stuff. Let's do that first. Okay, the celery has been stripped. And now what we're doing is we're just cutting it. And there you go, nice even slices if you can. Hey, I'm doing the celery pretty easy. Does that make me a stalker? Chopping celery. I know it's broccoli, but I love Dana Carvey. Chopping celery. Okay, our celery is chopped. We're gonna put this to the side, and now we're gonna start on the onion. And then do this. There we go. Dicing the onions. Nice and easy. And then dice. And we dice. All right, diced onions. Okay. All right, now we have to cut our carrots. Who am I kidding? I went out and bought them. Don't make yourself crazy. All right, now we're gonna make the cauliflower rice. We're gonna cut all these green stems off the cauliflower. We use pretty much all of the cauliflower in the cauliflower rice, actually, at least I do, because it's all good. I just take out the green stuff. Now that we have it all separated, We're gonna make them as small. I have to make them smaller because of my food processor. It's I'm just cutting them into small pieces and into the rice. There we go. See that? There we are. Now let's put in some of our cauliflower rice. Not going to put all of it in. I'm putting in about this much. And now we're just going to keep on stirring it and mixing it. And what's going to happen here is the heat and the process of heating it up is going to evaporate the water out of this. Now I'm going to take our cauliflower rice and put it right in here. Here we go. And I have more if I need more, but I don't think I'm going to need more. So now we take our chicken wings. This is 12 chicken wings per my mother's instructions. There we go. And the 12 go into the pot. And now we fill this with enough water to cover the wings. All right. We're going to need 3 of these. Okay. So our wings are now covered, and we're going to cook them in here until they're cooked. Yeah, now we cooked them. And right before, well, you'll see. It's going to start bubbling and cooking. This is going to be awesome. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes. Let's take out a chicken wing, put it on a plate. And now I'm going to check to see the internal temperature. You want it to be over 165. I don't want to hit, and don't hit a bone if you can possibly avoid it. 180. Okay, these are done. All right, our wings are done. Take them out of the pot. And we're going to place them aside to cool. All right. Here go the wings. Yeah. All right. Got them all? Got them all. Okay. Put them over here to cool. Okay. Now that they're cooling, we still have the water. We're going to bring down the heat to a simmer, so it's down to a 4. We're taking 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, and we're putting it in there. Okay. And 1 teaspoon each of salt and black pepper. And we're going to stir this up. Now the fun part. In goes the veggies. In goes the celery, the onion, the carrots, the carrots are in. And the cauliflower rice. It's right in there. And now add 1 cup of chicken broth. Okie doke. We have all that goodness in there now. It's going to start cooking in that broth. Now we're going to let this simmer for about a half hour, maybe a little bit more, while the wings cool down. Okay, now we have to wait for the wings to cool. Then we're going to take the meat off them and put them in our soup. Oh, and by the way, it's time for food facts. Chicken soup has been around forever. It's been around as long as man has boiled water. And that actually harkens back to the Neolithic era, or about 6,000 to 12,000 years ago, give or take a millennia. In those prehistoric times, chickens were pretty much kept around for their eggs. However, older chickens and capons were boiled and consumed by the peoples of Asia, Africa, Polynesia, and Europe. The origin of chicken soup can be traced back to ancient Greece and China. The Greek version came from avgolemono, which is a broth that's seasoned with egg, lemon, rice, and eventually chicken. In the Book of Jewish Food, An Odyssey from Samarkand to New York, author Claudio Rodin believes that the actual soup came to Greece via Portuguese or Spanish Sephardic Jews who were fleeing the Inquisition. As you probably know, chicken soup has been long considered a remedy. It's been used to ease the symptoms of colds, flu, or sometimes just a rainy day. But that's just an old wives' tale, right? Or is it? Chicken broth has long been considered restorative. Now that probably comes from the humoral system of medicine. It was believed that broth actually eased digestion, and it was also nutritious, mainly because its color resembled that of human flesh. Throughout the Middle Ages, chicken broth was still considered health food throughout the Mediterranean and Western Europe. This belief was especially strong among the Muslim and Jewish communities. Persian philosopher and physician Avicenna and Jewish rabbi and physician Maimonides both believed that chicken soup was good for the ill. Now this belief survived and was especially strong in Western Europe. Jews in Eastern Europe used to boil chicken on Friday, and that water was actually converted into soup and consumed throughout the week. Now they also added onions, celery, carrots, parsnips, noodles, kreplach, and matzo balls. Yummy. Now the ingredients for this soup were very expensive and rare in Eastern Europe, but there was one day during the year that pretty much everybody died on this soup, and that was Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement. Chicken soup started showing up in early cookbooks. In 1470, in patinas, On Right Pleasure and Good Health, they recommend chicken broth for the old and infirm. Chicken was used in soup in England since the earliest days. In the 1500s, chicken soup recipes were published and recommended as medical prescriptions. Europeans introduced chickens to America, and well, chickens were used in soup making in America from the 16th century forward. In the United States, the first recipes for chicken soup were published in 1824. The actual term chicken soup wasn't used in the United States until the latter part of the 19th century. That's because that's when manufacturers actually were promoting and manufacturing commercial chicken soup, the most popular of which was chicken noodle soup. In 1903, the Settlement Cookbook was popular in the United States. Now, this was basically a collection of recipes from Eastern European Jewish women on how to make chicken soup. In the recipe, celery root, and they actually recommended a dumpling called matzahs to be put in. There we are again, matzo ball soup. Yummy. In 1993, Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen published the book Chicken Soup for the Soul. And this, of course, continued the legacy of chicken soup being healthful. Now, this book spawned dozens of other books and fun recipes. And now it's time for Chicken Soup Trivia. March 13th is National Chicken Soup Day. In 1989, comedian Jackie Mason got his own sitcom. The name? Chicken Soup with Lynn Redgrave. I like Jackie Mason, but the show only lasted one season. By now you can see how chicken soup is so closely related to Jewish cookery. That's why it's called Jewish penicillin. In the year 2000, scientists at the University of Nebraska did a study on chicken soup and its restorative properties. They actually found out, though not conclusively, that it may have some anti-inflammatory properties which can help ease symptoms of a cold or a flu. I would gather that just about everybody in the United States has had a bowl of Campbell's chicken noodle soup. But did you know that when it debuted in 1934, it was called noodle chicken soup? But a radio announcer who was reading copy called it chicken noodle soup, and well, in a matter of weeks it was so popular, Campbell had to change all their labels. Each can of Campbell's chicken noodle soup has an average of 216 noodles in it, which average between 32 and 34 feet in length. Yep. Now, every year, Campbell's makes over 1 million miles of noodles. How much is that? That's enough to wrap around the earth 40 times. And that's Food Facts. Okay, while this is simmering, the wings, I've actually tested one. They are now cool enough to basically take the meat off of. Just be careful. You know, my mother was the superintendent of an apartment complex on Long Island for a long time. And the owner's son, who worked for the management company, loved this soup. Loved it. And he would call a couple of days in advance and say, "Hey, May," that's my mom's name. "Hey, May, I'm coming over. You wouldn't happen to have any of that chicken soup there, would you?" She goes, "Oh, there might be." And she would run out to the store. There was like a 25-year age difference between them. There was nothing going on. But she ran out to the store, got all the ingredients, and she made this soup for him. He loved it. He loved it. And good memory. I can't wait to taste this. I know all those memories are going to come back. Well, I will say this. There's a lot more meat in this chicken soup than there would be in a store-bought. You know, some store-boughts are really good, but this has a lot of meat. What I always used to notice about the I won't mention the brand, but the chicken soup, chicken noodle soup I would buy, is that there's little teeny weeny squares of meat in there. This is a lot heartier, and actually you can put more in here. You know, this is just based on my mom's suggestion. You can go real chicken heavy. Now, it did occur to me that maybe there would have been more meat on a chicken thigh, and I was going to do that, but honestly, I wanted to do my mom's recipe as close as I could, so I went with the chicken wings. Chicken wings are great. They're actually kind of the same kind of meat. It's dark meat, and there's a lot of flavor. And when we boiled the water with these wings, a lot of the fat and the flavor went into the broth, which is exactly what you're looking for. Okay, here's our chicken, all taken off the chicken wings. Now into the soup broth. And you can see there's plenty of fat content in there. That means lots and lots of flavor. And now we're going to let this simmer for about 20 to 25 minutes. Our soup is done. Let's ladle it in. Oh man, look at that. Let's get some of that broth in there. Oh, ho, ho. You know, I'm really excited because I haven't had this in almost 30 years. I mean, honestly. Oh boy. I mean, just look at that. Okay, I've always wanted to say this. Soup's on. Man, I can't believe it. I've actually just made, to the T, aside from the cauliflower rice, my mom's homemade chicken soup. It looks exactly as I remember it. Oh boy, and you know, I have a very muted sense of smell, but oh yeah, it sounds so familiar. It feels so familiar. I haven't had this, I think I said it before, I haven't had this in close to 30 years. And it's a little emotional, to be honest with you. I know that this episode, in its initial run, is airing on Mother's Day, so there was a method to my madness here, but I'm so happy I found this recipe. It looks so good, and I have goose pimples. I really do. I have goose flesh, and I'm going to taste it now for the first time in a very long time. My mom's chicken soup. It's delicious. This is absolutely wonderful. home cooked, delicious, not a big time consumer. I mean, from soup to nuts, it took me about 3 hours. And the thing is, if you have more time, you can develop these flavors deeper. You can let it, simmer longer. I'm shooting a show, so I really couldn't do that. But still, I have some more. It's like Mom is here. I'm getting emotional, I'm sorry, but this is absolutely fantastic. Try some of May's homemade chicken soup. The version I made is low carb and it's really delicious, and you'll be surprised how easy it is to make. I showed a picture earlier, I believe, of the note, the recipe card. The very end of it, it says, any questions, call May. Boy, I wish I could. Anyway, I'll be here again in 2 weeks with another recipe. Until then, be well, eat good. On the next episode of Off of the Cuff, I make a lasagna. A low-carb lasagna made with ground turkey and eggplant. But then, I get hit with a penalty flag.
Illegal procedure number 39, off the cuff, 10-car penalty, first down.
In Food Facts, we go back to Roman times. Think the Romans. They always had those trumpets. It's an Italian treat so good you'll never know that it's actually good for you. This is a decadent low-carb treat. That's on the next episode of Off the Cuff Healthy Cooking with Craig Mitchell. Alternate Sundays at 7:30 right here on Strong Island